We're counting you down to kickoff as the Chicago Bears at 7-3 are facing the Pittsburgh Steelers this Sunday on the lakefront. Will Aaron Rodgers be sent home packing in more ways than one? We'll give you our preview coming up. In basketball, the Chicago Bulls took 2 out of 3 on the West Coast. Are they back on top? Back. Pardon my Chris Berman. We'll give you our observations on the men in red also coming up. In baseball, will there be moves made in the offseason by both our Chicago baseball teams? Both of them are desperate in need to do so. And we'll have our girl, Miss Christine, the Queen Manica, in her return with her weekly NFL picks. That and Northwestern will host their second straight game at the friendly confines against the Minnesota Golden Gophers. That and a whole lot more as the Friday edition of Second City Sports starts right now.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Keep him on the field. And this one, a drive into left center field. Going back is Churio at the wall. Get out! Joe Robert Jr., his fourth of the season. And the Sox take the lead 2-1.
Armstrong gets into another one. Sends Edman back. He's watching it land in the stands. What a night from Pete Crow Armstrong. Goes wide, up the guard again. And he scores. What a play!
On Jordan Bennington, no chance at all for the Blues netminders. Connor Bedard. Wow.
Getting what a pass. Buzelis with the fake on the drive.
Uze motions up. They're blitzing. It's picked up. Caleb throws. Middle of the field. Loveland catch. Breaks away the 30. Loveland 20. Loveland 10. Loveland end zone. Touchdown Bears.
Welcome to another fun-filled edition on the hashtag Football Friday of Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Miss LaKeena McGee, which is she over here. I am Sidney Brown. You better know it's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
Well, I'm another upside down. You can find my Kenny McGee on the Twitter, get an IG.
Oh, don't bust out that Diana Ross now.
Oh, Lord. Oh, Jesus.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We're unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions, do not 2-hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. You definitely got to hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get them up on the screen for you. But you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid. I've given LaKeena full powers to give you dumbos to Aaron Rodgers, our own Chicago boot.
Toodles, I own you.
But before we begin, we must remind you, Friday, folks, Friday fun. That's how we do. First, we must shout out to our live game. That's LIVE Live Entertainment Game. That's checking us out right now, live in the living color on our Facebook and YouTube channels at Sports Zone Chicago at 12:19 p.m. Central Standard Time. But much love to the replay game that's checking us out on the replay, also at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels. Don't you ever forget our motto where we talk sports, music, or entertainment. We will always provide.
While you was on the best turn on Second City Sports, of course, at the bottom of the hour, we'll have a new friend to the show. We love bringing on new people. Her name is Jenna Harner. She is from WPXI 11, which is the NBC affiliate in Pittsburgh. She'll preview Steelers Bears. I wonder if she knows if Aaron Rodgers is going to play on Sunday. And the rest of the very busy sports scene out there in the Steel City. We have her coming up at the bottom of the hour. Of course, our girl Christine McElkay, XRP. We haven't forgotten about her either. Don't worry. We'll have our Week 12 picks in the NFL. You got college football as the penultimate week of the regular season commences. There's a couple of games that could decide the order when it comes to the playoff chase. We'll talk about that. Also, the NBA, LeBron makes his return as well. A little college hoops, too, as Illinois loses a tough one against Alabama at the UC, and some sports media news is MLB has their TV contracts and so much more. But first, the state of Chicago sports is, it's sort of one of those things where you're just like, it's actually not a bad time to be a Chicago sports fan. You got the Bears at 7-3. You got the Bulls, they're with 2-0 this week on the road, including an upset win against Jokic, Murray, and the Nuggets, and also a buzzer beater from Vooch as in Portland. They were 8-6. The Blackhawks, even though they lost a tough one against the Kraken last night, but they're still on the up and up. They're 10-6-4 right now. And of course, you got the Cubs and the White Sox getting ready for the offseason. Will it be an active offseason for these two teams? We'll see. But Sid, what do you think about the whole state of the Chicago sports landscape?
I wake up this morning and I said, I am thankful that, first of all, that we live in the city of the world's greatest city in these United States of America. And the breakdown you just gave, that also ran through my mind. With the Blackhawks, with the announcement of their third alternate jerseys, we'll get into that later. As you mentioned, the Bears spearheading the ship right now. That's SHIP for the scoring at home at 7-3, with a chance to really do something special that we haven't seen here in a long time. I feel good. Pardon my James Brown. I'm not going to sing it, but I feel good being a Chicago sports fan right now. And the Bulls getting back on track, and they're going to do something special in their game tomorrow night. We'll get into that later. But I wish that my White Sox will join the party. I wish your Cubs would take a next step and join the party as well, even though they were a playoff team this year. Give them credit for that. But yours truly is thankful and happy that we have some good sports to talk about. How many times we've come on this program, LaKeena? Oh, they should have done this. They should have done that. I'm sick of this losing. I'm sick of that. Now, am I saying that we're heading towards the next millennium of winning championships? I hope so, but I'm not going to say that yet. But in terms of individual stars, you have Matas Buzelis, Connor Bedard. Hopefully, Costa Montgomery for the White Sox. Up on the north side, P-Crow Armstrong, a nice young budding star, not just for the Cubs, but perhaps in all of baseball. And of course, you have Caleb Williams and new head coach Ben Johnson. So individually, you have some stars that you can market in the third largest city in the country. And with winning comes expectations. And with expectations being met, this city can get lit. I know that HBO is going to have their special. We'll talk about this later, too, celebrating the Super Bowl Shovels 40th anniversary. We were kids back in LaKeena. We all like to reminisce about our childhood growing up in the city of Chicago with the Bears at 85, of course, with the Bulls running it in the 90s. Those were great times. And I don't know if we're going to get all that back soon, but hope is on the horizon if you're a Chicago sports fan.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. LaKeena McGee, Steve Brown with you as we talk the state of Chicago sports. And it's kind of interesting that, for once, it's not like, you don't have to be angry watching your favorite team. I mean, yeah, the Bulls, again, they blew that big lead in Portland. They had to take a Vooch buzzer beater to win that game on Wednesday. And I know Coach Donovan was not very happy with that with that effort, sustainability. Now, again, we'll see with the Bears. We'll talk with our new buddy Jenna Harner coming up at the bottom. But it's sort of one of those things where you're just like, okay, it's not a bad time. With the Blackhawks, I know Bedard had a hat trick, a second hat trick on Wednesday. Like I said, they had a tough loss against the Kraken yesterday. There should have been a call, that they should have had a chance to at least get a point against them. But I digress. I'm not gonna go on a tangent there. But yeah, I mean, the off season for the Cubs and the White Sox. I mean, you hope that they're gonna spend some money. I'm not holding my breath on either part, but maybe they can't. Who knows? Now the Bears, like I said, this is gonna be the first big test of we'll see if the Bears are for real. They've had a couple of games flex, so. And apparently the TV people think that they may have a shot, so we'll see. But it's definitely it's like I said, I'm kind of like not enjoying the why per se, but being like cautiously optimistic of some of these teams that maybe they can make that next step.
Yeah, you brought up the phrase cautiously optimistic. Yes, we both are Chicagoans. We lived in this city for the majority of our lives, and we're seeing that when teams come out of nowhere, like the 0-1 Bears. Or to the lesser extent, the Chicago Blackhawks of 2009. We've seen them surprise everyone and make as far as they can without any expectations. And then when you place expectations on them the following year, with the exception of the Blackhawks in the last decade, they failed miserably and they had to rebuild. see the 2021 White Sox for that. Now, look at bringing it forward. You just hope that the tide is turning and the script is flipped now with the Bears. I know some people had that in the playoffs. Yours surely didn't, but that doesn't matter. But you hope that, as we said all year long, this team is growing. This team is improving. You will hope that now they're starting to play better teams on their schedule. You hope they'll rise to the competition. What they've been building up to this point is now now starting to reap their rewards, and they're starting to get some guys back. We'll get into the Bears, as you mentioned, come up after our next break. But I do want to stay on the positive and go to the Chicago Bulls. Now, we talked about them on our last show on Monday, LaKeena, losing an ugly one to the Utah Jazz in double overtime. But I was very impressed. I was more impressed of their Denver victory than the Portland victory. Let's get to the Denver victory from Monday. They beat the Nuggets by 3 on the road. They hung tough. They stood firm. And in my opinion, they had control of most of their game. Jokic had to do everything he can to keep the Nuggets in the game. Jamal Murray did his thing. Eric Gordon, as we told you on Monday, will do his thing. But as we said during our NBA preview show back in October, LaKeena, I like the Denver Nuggets because of their depth. Their depth did not come up to the challenge on Monday. I don't think they even scored barely 10 points from their bench. Now, the Bulls, on the other hand, they, I believe, second in the NBA in bench points, averaging 48 points per game. You saw that depth come to fruition this road trip after that tough loss in Utah. Second night of the back-to-back in Denver against one of the best teams in the NBA. Their bench came through, and the bench came through even though they blew that double-digit lead at Portland in the fourth quarter on Wednesday. Their bench held it down until Vucevic, a.k.a. Vucci, man, hit that game winner to send the Bulls home happy with the win, taking 2 out of 3 on the road.
Yeah, it's been back and forth between them and Memphis as the most bench points. I think the Bulls, as we're recording this, they're actually at now just the edge of the Grizzlies with the bench Liam on bench points. I mean, Iowa had 21, 16 points for Jalen Smith, and Javon Carter had 15 off the bench. So, and it was also the 3-point range. I think Javon Carter was like 50% from 3. So that really kind of started that whole thing because the starters weren't very good. I mean, Vooch had his struggles in that game. Giddey had 21. I know Okoro only had 1 point. He was he did some of the little things too. But yeah, I think we'll see. I think like Coach Donovan said, they play Miami tonight, and it's going to be at the UC, and they're back home. So it's going to be interesting to see if this could be sustainable for them because the Bulls, it could be one of those things where they might. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to be right there with your New York. I know the New Yorkers have had their struggles this week. We'll talk about that at the top. Detroit's been playing very well. Lately, they've won 11 in a row. Toronto's been probably one of those surprise teams this year. They won 5 in a row. I don't know. Scotty Barnes, that's his health's going to be a big question mark too. We'll see if he can stay healthy. They're going to play Miami squad that's been pretty good. Bam's been Adebayo's been very good this year. And Philly's been okay too. So yeah, I think it's gonna be one of those things where you're just like, I don't want to say it's gonna be a change of the guard in the Eastern Conference. I'm not gonna say the Bulls are gonna be challenging for that top 3 spot, but I think they could definitely be right there in the thick of it for those in those bottom 3, and those bottom 3 in the 6, right there when we get to the play-ins.
And we've seen that this Bulls team is slightly different with the return of Kobe White. Of course, he was injured throughout the preseason. He made his season debut over the weekend, in particular at Utah. And you see how things have changed a bit for Chicago, especially with their offense. And as we talked about on this show since the start of the regular season, that this Bulls team is playing very different in what as people call it, Billy ball around here. You share the basketball. You still got to cut down on the turnovers a little bit, but they're sharing the basketball. You have between 4 and 6 guys averaging in double figures. As we mentioned just now, that your bench is coming through this year. My guy Jalen Smith is coming through. P. Will. I know I know some other folks don't want to call him that, but P. Will, he's going to give you something here or there. Dalen Terry had a big block on Wang against Portland on Wednesday. He's starting to come through. Julian Phillips is starting to get some runs. So, and you mentioned about Javon Carter, and Ayo Dosunmu, who I'm really being impressed with so far this year. He's improved every year he's been in the Bulls uniform over the last 3 or 4 years. So, players on this team know their role. They don't get outside themselves. It seems like to me, from the outside looking in, they don't have any big egos. And I don't want to blame everything on Zach and DeMar. Those two guys were ball dominant guys, but ever since both of them were traded last year, whoever was left on this team, we said this last year, Montez Buzella's game took another step. I know he struggled the last couple of games. I'm talking about Buzella's coming into this week, but you see that his confidence has started to rise too. So the young guys that are left on this team from last year and the new additions that are on this team this year, shout out Trey Jones as well. I know he's been missing the extra last couple of games, but the new guys that's on the team, they know their roles. It seems like they really want to play for each other. They know their roles, and they're not going to step on anybody's toes, and they're really having fun doing it.
All right, take a really quick break. Of course, we got our new buddy Jenna Harner from NBC 11 in Pittsburgh. We'll talk Bears Steelers with her, and also Paul Skeens. Will the Pirates do anything during the offseason? What about University of Pittsburgh, their teams? Also, the Penguins. This is going to be the last stand for Crosby and Malkin. We'll have that and a whole lot more coming next. LaKeena McGee, Sidney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago, Steelers, Bears, and more with Jenna Harner coming up right after this.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. On Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel, you can find us at Sports Zone Chicago. And on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Oops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGetty, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on the hashtag Football Friday version. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's LaKeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Kingdom again on the Twitter, X again at IG.
We're going to dive into our Bears Steelers preview with our special guest coming up in just a second. And we're going to talk other Pittsburgh area sports as well with our special guest. If you have any questions or comments during this segment, you can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
Now, so how long have you and I been doing this show? Well, we've been doing other shows for like the last, like, I think over a decade now, but we've been doing this together for like the last 4 or 5 years. And we always love having new friends come on. And she is new friend. She's from NBC 11 out in Pittsburgh. She's a talented sports anchor reporter there. She's the one, the only, the fabulous Miss Jen Harner. Hey, Jen, how are you?
Yay!
This was the best introduction ever. Thank you both so much. I'm so thrilled to be here with you guys.
No, it's good to talk with you. We're looking forward to, Sid and I were just talking before we came out. We're looking forward to talking to us, Pittsburgh, well, Steelers especially, but also Pittsburgh area sports. I know it's a busy time out there in the CLC this time of year. Now, the elephant in the room, Jenna, Aaron Rodgers, the wrist on the his left wrist. Do you have any updates for us? Is he playing Sunday? Isn't he? I know they've kept it very close to the vest. What's the latest update?
Yeah, we actually may get a couple updates breaking in a couple minutes here. Practice just ended. Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin is expected to talk with reporters. I don't know if we're going to get quite an answer yet. They really do like to keep these decisions very close to the vest, and I can see them wanting to wait and maybe make it more of like a, hey, it's going to be a game time decision thing. But Rodgers did practice again today, so he was limited in practice yesterday. I don't know the full extent of how much he practiced today, but he is wearing that brace on his left wrist, and all week both Rodgers and Mike Tomlin have been saying it really comes down to safety. His availability for Sunday is going to come down to, does he feel like he can brace himself? Does he feel like if he lands on it, it's not going to, injure it severely much more than what the injury currently is? So that's going to be a massive part of it. Rodgers did tell us on Wednesday too, when we spoke with him after practice, he really wants to be able to feel comfortable under center as well. He's been working a lot in the shotgun, but he wants to have that comfortability under center too. So I keep like looking to see if there's going to be any updates when Mike Tomlin speaks. So we might get that in a minute or two, but basically as of right now, it seems like it is trending in the direction of Rodgers playing. But again, it does come down to, does he feel like he can protect himself? Does he feel like he is comfortable enough to get out there? And does the medical staff obviously clear him as well?
I'll tell you this, Jenna. I know Aaron Rodgers knows this for playing in the NFL for so many years, especially when he was with the Green Bay Packers. But he's definitely going to enter into the Lions Den at Soldier Field on Sunday. I'm telling you right now, the Bears fans are ready for him to get the Brett Favre 2010 Minnesota Vikings treatment. But we'll leave it at that. Speaking of Aaron Rodgers, Jenna, of course, we had people on our show. We know people that covered him in Green Bay. Of course, you have a couple of national pundits that cover Rodgers, saying that he's a condescending guy. He's a petty guy here and there. What's been your personal relationship with Aaron Rodgers covering him with the Steelers this year?
Yeah, it's been very interesting because I think there's this national perception of him, and then there's the perception of when he's in the local market and working with local media. We'd heard a lot from our friends that cover the Jets basically about, hey, he's actually really good in the locker room and he'll give you good stuff. You have to ask him good questions, of course. You can't come in with a dumb question, which we've all been there. We've all ddone that. But I've been genuinely surprised. I truly have. When we've talked with him, he's been honest, he's been upfront, he's kind of, has said it like it is, and he's been very great to work with from a media perspective. I mean, we've kind of had this quarterback carousel here in Pittsburgh the last handful of years, at least in my time since I've been here. This is my 6th season now, which feels crazy to say, but he's been kind of, really, really good to talk with and really good to ask questions to. And I asked him this week, everyone wanted to know the status of his wrist. So after we kind of gotten the, hey, what play did it happen on? How are you feeling? I jumped in to ask a question basically like, what's the process like for you this week in order to be able to get out and play on Sunday? Another reporter asked the same question at the same time. And we both kind of just paused, and Rodgers looked at both of us and he was like, I think you guys were asking pretty much the same thing. Like, are you good if I answer that? So he's been kind of that cordial, little bit of a banter back and forth with us too. So I've been definitely I came in with no expectations, but it's been a pleasant surprise for sure, just in the way that he's engaged with us throughout these first, 12 weeks of the season and dating back to training camp and when he arrived here.
All right, let's stay on the offense, but outside of Aaron Rodgers, the receiving core of the Steelers, you look at them, you think, okay, they'd be, DK Metcalf, who they got, in the trade from Seattle. Of course, you've got Darnell Washington. I think he could be a big factor this Sunday coming up. So that has a receiving core kind of, especially Metcalf, have kind of met or exceeded expectations, or has it been disappointing? What do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely, the biggest question coming into the season was who is going to be wide receiver 2, because you had DK Metcalf. When you brought him in, George Pickens was still on the Steelers. He had not been traded to Dallas yet. So everyone thought, hey, they were going to come in with this phenomenal tandem in receiving core and have all these threats at tight ends. This offense might actually really hum and really operate well. That has not been the case. I shouldn't say that entirely. Obviously George Pickens gets traded to Dallas. So the questions about, okay, who is this wide receiver 2? They wanted Calvin Austin to take another step forward in his development over his young career in his short time since he's been here in Pittsburgh. They wanted to see more from Roman Wilson, who basically missed the majority of his rookie season last year, dealing with a couple injuries. They wanted to see those guys take steps forward, but they also have the tight ends room, which Mike Tomlin refers to Pat Freiermuth and Darnell Washington and Jonnu Smith, as he just calls them. He's like the REC, because it goes down, obviously, anytime any one of those makes a catch, it's just a reception. So he looks at them that way, in a versatile type way, where they can block, they can pass catch. Their ability to do so much kind of took away a little bit from the immediate need to have that true second receiver. But basically this offense right now is DK Metcalf, and then when DK Metcalf's tripled, there are a lot of other options that the Steelers try to go to, and it's faltered a little bit. The last 2 games, LA and this most recent game against the Bengals, the offense has kind of, I don't want to say simmered or taken a step back, but it's come down a little bit from some of the high scoring output they had earlier in the season. That's been a variety of reasons, but they look, obviously DK is the main guy. They wanted to continue to get the run game going, but you kind of have a tight end or a receiver making an impact every game. It's just, you don't entirely know who it's going to be from game to game. Pat Freiermuth has a couple big games, Jonnu Smith. So it's just kind of that, hey, they don't have this receiver, but they have a lot of other weapons as well. But the offense is definitely slowed a little bit in this last little stretch here.
Let's go over to the other side of the ball and talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. I want to focus in on their linebacker core. Of course, Caleb Williams for the Bears. He's improved from year 1 to year 2. Last week, I said on Monday, on our show on Monday, I said to LaKeena, even though Caleb Williams didn't have the greatest statistics against Minnesota, he's starting to, when he goes out the pocket, we all love it as fans when he makes plays, when he runs outside the pocket, but when the play is not there, instead of forcing it, he's throwing it out of bounds. I know the Steelers defense has been aware of that on film this week. I want to talk about your linebackers at Aaron Highsmith and TJ Watt, in particular, Patrick Queen. I'll throw him in there as well. What's the game plan for the Steelers defense to keep Caleb Williams in the pocket? Will they use a quarterback spy on him? Will they use a different blitz or scheme package? What's the game plan to keep Caleb Williams in the pocket this Sunday?
Yeah, that's going to be the most crucial part of this game. It's not only can you limit Caleb Williams and his mobility and his explosiveness and the way that he can extend plays, the way that we've seen from him throughout his career up to this point, but it's also going to be looking to limit DeAndre Swift. This Steelers team has talked so much about needing to stop the run, and they were getting gashed a lot early this season. This is by far, though, going to be the most mobile quarterback they've faced. I say that aside from Justin Fields week 1, that's probably the best, quarterback that has had that ability, that mobile and the running ability that they've seen up to this point. But it's going to be so crucial for them. And it was funny when we talked with Alex Highsmith earlier in the week, who is seeming like he's hoping to play. Of course, we have to wait for that final injury report that comes out a little later this afternoon. But Highsmith was saying, it doesn't come down to scheme. It just comes down to us doing our jobs. It comes down to us being in our gaps, us being fundamentally sound, and us doing our jobs. So I think think you're going to see a lot of, obviously, Highsmith and Watt looking to get after Caleb Williams, looking to bottle him up, looking to take him down. The Steelers have had kind of this three-man linebacker rotation when all three are healthy, because Highsmith has missed some time this season, but you have Watt, you have Highsmith, and you have Nick Herbig. Highsmith is more of your run stuffer, run stopping guy, whereas Herbig has had a lot more sacks this year. And it's funny, here in Pittsburgh, everyone's like, you need to play Nick Herbig more than you play Alex Highsmith. And it's like, no, the run needs to, that's where they need to be addressing things. So I anticipate them looking to get after him. I anticipate them throwing a lot of looks at Caleb Williams defensively. That is always something that is talked about when they're facing a young or a rookie quarterback, is just how confusing the Steelers defense can look to an opposing quarterback. It's been interesting too, and I'm hoping I'm going to be phrasing this right, but they're playing in a lot of like a too high shell, and then they have one of the safeties drop in. So it's been a lot of just throwing confusing looks, and that's something the defense is really taking pride in right now, is, hey, we're really looking to, disguise a lot of what our coverage is going to be, and then be able to move into it once the quarterback is already in process of attempting to make the throw. So it does seem like they're also going to be bringing the blitz a little bit more. It's been funny because this is a team that hasn't necessarily done that, even though everybody knows Pittsburgh is Blitzburg, but just over the last 2 years, they haven't been dialing it up as much. We are seeing more of that this season too. So Patrick Queen has been a big factor too in stuffing the run. He's been a phenomenal force, especially over these last couple games. He's best when he's not noticeable, other than when he's making a big run stopping play. But I think the Steelers know the challenge that they have in Caleb Williams, and this is going to be a big test for them, because this is that stretch of the season we talked about here in Pittsburgh, that they face a lot of really, really challenging quarterbacks. You have Caleb Williams mobility. They're going to see Josh Allen next week. They have to see Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry twice down the stretch here. So this is going to kind of be that first big test for them, is, hey, how much can they limit a guy who likes to use his feet so much and can extend plays so well?
Talking to our new buddy, NBC 11's Jenna Harder here on Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown with you. Jenna, let's talk with the secondary of that defense, because it's not like they don't have a bunch of no names. You've got your Darius Slay, you got your Jalen Ramsey, Jabril Peppers, Joey Porter Jr. Of course, his dad was a legendary Steeler himself. They've been okay, but they haven't been they've been inconsistent. So what do you think is going to be the game plan for those safeties to kind of try and slow down that Bears wide receiving core Sunday?
Yeah, this has kind of been, early portions of the season. It was a very disappointing, because this was a defense that during training camp, during the early portions of the preseason, had said things like, we have the chance to be a historic defense, one of the best defenses. And they largely were not living up to their potential by a mile through the first stretch of games here. They've had to make some moves because of injuries. Losing Deshaun Elliott, one of their safeties, was kind of a big frustration point, and also just a big disappointment because of how talented he is and how much he's fit in with this team in his short time here. So they've moved Jalen Ramsey to safety. Kyle Duggar they brought in from the Patriots just ahead of the trade deadline, and they've really stabilized a lot on the back end for the Steelers defensively. You go back to that Thursday night game against the Bengals when Jamar Chase and T. Higgins just absolutely feasted on that Steelers secondary. They had come into the year saying, hey, we brought Jalen Ramsey in, we brought Darius Slay in, we have Joey Porter Jr., we can go one-on-one against these Bengals receivers. And very quickly we saw that was absolutely not the case. They have changed some things schematically more too, where they're not playing as much cover one. I want to make sure I have that right. They're not doing that in that way as much. They're basically allowing Ramsey to kind of be the guy that just in the deep middle part of the field. So they, I think, are going to continue to find the success in the ways that they found it over the last couple games. Jamar Chase, the way that they played against him last week, they limited him. He had 3 catches on 3 catches for 30 yards. I think it ended up being or 5 catches for 30 yards, maybe. It ended up being that. So for them, I think it's just going to, they want to obviously keep a lot in front of them, but they really want to, again, disguise those coverages. So they give Caleb Williams a little more of a challenge in reading them as a defense and then dropping into what they want to do. Kyle Duggar will jump routes, and we saw that when he jumped the route and Joe Flacco pretty much gift wrapped him that football. I don't see Caleb Williams doing that entirely, but both of these teams thrive so much defensively off turnovers that I think that's going to be my big key in this one is whoever is going to capitalize more off of a turnover is going to really it has a big chance in coming out victorious just because of the way that both of these defenses live by those turnovers and can force them at the rates that we've seen them both do so this season.
We're halfway home with NBC 11's Jenna Harner from Pittsburgh. She's hanging out here with us right here on Second City Sports on Sports Social Chicago's Football Friday edition. LaKeena here with you, previewing Bears and Steelers. Jenna, a couple more questions about the game before we move on to other sports topics in Pittsburgh. The Bears going into last week's game against the Minnesota Vikings, they were ranked 24th against the pass, 26 against the run. I know the Steelers, at least I'll speak for myself, from an outsider's perspective, Jaylen Warren's been hit and miss over the last couple of years. How much does the Steelers offensive line, how much are they chomping at the bit to get at this Bears defensive line? Because they've been mostly hit or miss, to be honest with you, so far this year. How much do you think the Steelers offensive line is chomping at the bit to try to run the ball down the Bears' throats?
Yeah, I think this has been such a big part of who this team wants to be and the identity that this offense wants to have. They want to be able to run the football, and it's been a struggle of theirs. It hasn't really been a big point of success for the Steelers team over the last couple seasons. Last season, at the end of the year, you saw them running the football well, a lot better than they had been, but there really hasn't been that consistency with the run game. This is also a very young offensive line for the Steelers that is having some growing pains. They're growing well together. I will say you're seeing glimpses of, okay, these players might be the players that they drafted them to be. Troy Fautanu, for example, has improved a lot over, the stretch of things up to, as we're in week 12 here. Broderick Jones has had some ups and some downs. He's had some moments where he's looked very impressive that you say, hey, this is why they traded up to draft him a few years ago. And he's also had some moments that it doesn't look good. And people are questioning here in Pittsburgh if he might potentially be a bust. But this offensive line largely has found more time to work. What's been a frustration and a struggle that reflects on them a little bit these last couple games is that Aaron Rodgers has been holding onto the ball for a little too long, and he has been taking just the tiniest bit of, hey, how do I, split second too long, I guess, making decisions. And that has resulted in some really costly sacks. You go back to the safety that they gave up against the Chargers on Sunday Night Football 2 weeks ago. So the offensive line, no doubt, wants to be able to run this football more. And I think this is going to be a really good challenge for them just to see, hey, this is one of the teams, like you mentioned, in the league that doesn't fare super well against the run. How much can they get Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell going? It's kind of been an interesting division of labor. And last week was a little bit more specific because Jaylen Warren had an ankle injury mid-game, so they kind of were riding a little bit of the hot hand with Kenneth Gainwell, and it's worked. But Jaylen Warren, when he is healthy, is so explosive, so elusive, so hard to bring down and tackle that I think he could have the potential for a big day. And I think it's going to be a big challenge for the Bears defensively to look to limit him. But it's, again, a big challenge too for the Steelers defense to get this run game going consistently because we haven't really seen it from them this season.
Let's talk about the rest of the busy sports scene out in Pittsburgh, Chandler, because I know there's a lot going on out there this time of year. We'll start with the Penguins. Of course, Malkin and Crosby. They've been kind of been okay. I know Dan Muse took over as head coach his first year. So where do you see the Penguins being right there, being a contender in the East, perhaps?
Yeah, it's been the most surprising start to the season. I don't think if you said to anyone in Pittsburgh at the start of the year, the Penguins would be in the place that they are right now, playing competitive, entertaining hockey, everybody would have just we've all kind of been in shock, truly. It's been kind of a very pleasant surprise that no one really went into this season with a lot of expectations for this team because of the process of the rebuild that they're in. Rebuild, we'll say that in air quotes. It is what they're doing, but obviously they're keeping the older guys here to attempt to keep that window open. But it's by far been a very pleasant surprise. I think we knew there was going to be a little bit of a boost because this team always seems to play well when they get a new head coach in and they get into a little bit of a new system. I think Dan Muse's system is working spectacularly for this team. They're just being a lot safer with their plays. They're not taking a lot of the risks when they would pinch at the blue line and things that we saw last year from guys that just would lead to, all right, here's another odd man rush. And oh, look, the other team scored another goal. Like that was so much of what we saw last year. I think they're also right now having really solid goaltending. And that has been an issue on this team for the last couple of years. So it's kind of this perfect storm of you have a new head coach who's implemented a system that seems to fit this team really well. You have goaltending that's being, you have really solid goaltending. And then you have these young players who are infusing such life into this team. Ben Kindle has been a massive surprise this year's draft pick. And then, of course, Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin are continuing to play at really high levels. Evgeny Malkin is having a spectacular start to the season. Again, surprising. But having this combination of all of it puts them in a good spot right now. Is this a team that's going to win the Stanley Cup? I don't think so. But the East itself and the Metro Division specifically is just so bad this year that I think they can put themselves into a conversation and maybe have a chance to end the 3-year postseason drought that they've been in.
Before I ask my baseball question, Jen, I just want to set this up. This will make sense in a minute. I'm the White Sox fan. LaKeena is a Cubs fan. So, and this will make sense when I ask this question. What's the temperature of the Pirates fan between the fans and their ownership? The reason why I ask this is because, of course, a few times this year, the Pirates fans were chanting, sell the team, sell the team. See White Sox fans reference for that. And, of course, their flagship TV station, Sportsnet Pittsburgh, blacked out the games, even though they denied it. We now know they did. And then they had the advertisement up there in right field, replace the picture of Roberto Clemente with a alcohol, whatever the hell it was, and then obviously they replaced the bag. Of course, now Paul Skeens, congrats to him for winning his first Cy Young. Now he's coming up in trade talks, even though he's still young in his career. What's the temperature of the Pirates fan between them and the manager? Because me and LaKeena said on this show over the last couple of years, especially with the ascension of Paul Skeens, if this team does not improve over the next couple of years, I do not blame Paul Skeens if he goes to the Yankees or whoever is going to paying the most money. What's the temperature between the Pirates fans and management? Because from outside looking at it, it looks ugly.
It ugly is a perfect word for it. And just less than a week ago, last Saturday, when College game day's in town ahead of Pitt Notre Dame football, there's a plane flying overhead with banners that had something on it, and it also said sell the team, Bob. Like, everybody in Pittsburgh is so fed up with the fact that this organization has talent right now. You have a generational pitcher in Paul Skeens, and they're really, I don't want to say refusing, but that's just what it appears like. They refuse to build around him. There isn't that, hey, we're going out and we're getting these free agents and we're making these big signings and we're spending the money and we're being competitive. That's not what this is right now, unfortunately. And I think a lot of Pittsburgh fans have kind of already said to themselves, they don't blame Paul Skeens if, in a couple of years he wants to get traded to the Yankees or the Dodgers or to a team that is willing to spend money and bring in talent. I mean, we've seen what's happened with the Dodgers and why they can win so consistently. And then you even look at other teams like the Brewers. Obviously their run to the World Series came short, but that is another mid-small market team that builds around their players. And I think a lot of Pirates fans here will look and say, well, why isn't our owner doing that? Why can't they do that here? I just also last season for the Pirates, I felt so bad for that PR staff because it did feel like every single week there was something. It was what's next. It was what big thing. They had these, they're called Bucko bricks, and they were little bricks that were put in right outside the stadium when it was built back in the early 2000s. And it was, this is in memory of my mom, all those cute things. Well, there was a PR scandal with that because the developer took those out, and Pirates were like, we're going to put them back. We will. And then they were found in a junkyard a couple weeks later. It was like there was something every week. They could not escape bad publicity last season. But again, when the product on the field too was what it was, it was a struggle. It was a struggle. So fans are hoping and waiting for moves to be made. Unfortunately, I don't see any of those big moves to come. I think they'll look to go out and sign someone that might be a little bit of a flashy name, and they'll be in talks of, hey, well, they did put in an offer for this guy, but somebody offered a whole lot more money, and that's going to be what this offseason is, because that's what it's been for all my time here and pretty much, the last handful of years, other than that little bit of stretch in the mid 2010s where this team was a little bit competitive. But fans here yearn for competitive baseball, and it's just so unfortunate because it doesn't feel like they're going to get that until there's a change in ownership, and I don't see that happening soon by any means.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame Schemes for if in a couple years from now he wants to get out of there. So he's being low right now, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he decided he wants to leave. Last question for me,
real
Jenna.
quickly, Keena.
What? Go ahead.
Real quickly, Keena, before we get to your last question. If Paul Skeens decides to leave in a couple of years, Jenna, hopefully the Ishmaels will take over the White Sox from Ryan Storm. And we got the Pope on our side, so that's our selling point from us White Sox to Paul Skeens. Come to Chicago in about 2-3 years.
No, making a note of that.
Phenomenal selling point, truly.
Yes. Right. I mean, definitely making a note of that. Now, last question for me, Jenna. We'll talk about the University of Pittsburgh sports real quick here. The football team, they're kind of right there for the ACC championship. They got a couple tough games next couple of weeks. Got against Tech Saturday, Tech tomorrow, and Miami next week, and also too on the men's basketball side. They had a tough loss against Central Florida. So I guess on the football side, do you see them? Can they get to the ACC championship game? And also on the men's side, can they go back to the tournament?
Those are phenomenal questions. Football-wise, this team has been so interesting this season because you make a quarterback change mid-season. Mason Heinschel, the true freshman, has been lighting it up. Aside from last week, I think we're seeing a little bit more of, okay, this is kind of how, if you're looking to game plan against him, if you're looking to find a weakness against him, when Notre Dame really brought pressure against him last week, it really was a big struggle for the Panthers on third down. But they knew that Notre Dame game didn't affect anything going into these next two. Obviously, a win would have been nice, but their focus has been on these next two games and winning and putting themselves in position to have a chance at the ACC championship. A lot still has to go right, but I think this is going to be a massive test for them this week. Defensively too, Georgia Tech has been fun and they've been exciting to watch this season. So Pitt is going to be a big challenge. I don't know if I see them getting there this year, but I think a lot of the framework is in place right now for this team to take steps forward next year. They also have a massive local recruiting class coming in next year. It's one of the biggest, I believe, in the last 6 seasons. So there's a lot of really good high school talent here in Western Pennsylvania, and it's always a big contention point of how much of that Pitt can bring in. And it's, definitely going to be a big benefit for them. And basketball wise, this unfortunately feels like it's going to be a little bit of a gap stop year, just kind of like, all right, getting us to next season. The Panthers actually, as of right now, have the 6th best recruiting class in the country next season. So there is optimism, and there's been kind of a little bit of a changeover behind the scenes with the GM of Pitt and just his recruiting ability. There was a little bit of a down slope in the recruiting the last handful of seasons. So there is good talent there. gonna figure something out. I unfortunately though don't see them making the tournament this year just based on what we've seen from them in the early portions of the season. I know a lot of fans want that too, because again, when any Pittsburgh basketball team is in the tournament, it's a lot of fun. We've had some fun the last couple years with little surprise teams making it in. But yeah, I think it's going to be kind of a little bit of a down year for basketball, and football has a chance this weekend. And in the game against Miami, I wouldn't count them out in either, but they could make this big push for an ACC championship here on a surprising year that I think a lot of people, after they lost the backyard brawl early in the season, kind of wrote them off. They're right back in the conversation.
Last question for me, Jen, as we wrap up here with you. I read on your bio that you grew up in Connecticut, so I know it's not safe to assume, but I assume that you're a New York Knicks fan or a Boston Celtics fan. Oh, who are some of your favorite teams and players growing up in Connecticut back in your day?
This is always a funny answer for me because I was not the big NBA fan, but being having UConn men and women and growing up when they were both winning championships at the same time was one of the coolest things. And again, you think when you're younger, your experiences are kind of shared experiences among everybody. And then you learn very quickly when you grow up, it's not. So I was like, wait, what do you mean? Like your men's and women's basketball teams that you support don't win national championships back to back and consistently in the same year every year. And I'm like, I know I'm a very spoiled fan in that way, but just growing up, like the 2004 UConn women's basketball team was like everything to me. It was Diana Taurasi and Sue Bird and just these legends and these icons in the sport that, my mom always loves this story to tell this story too, but we were out to dinner one night and Gino and a lot of the seniors were all out to dinner at the table. And my mom's like, I probably was like 8 or 7 or 8. And she's like, go over there and ask them for an autograph. And I was like, I don't want to interrupt them. I don't want to. She's like, I think you're really going to like that. And it was such a vivid memory where they were all so excited. And I was, hi, like, I'm so sorry to interrupt. And they were like, no. We'd love to sign a piece of paper for you. Like, thank you so much for your support. Like, just, they were everything growing up, and the men's team too, obviously. So watching all the runs that they went on, and especially seeing the women have success again recently, in the men too, has just been so cool, and just kind of like a nice continuation of my fandom. That's pretty much all I get to have, covering the NFL and NHL. I have such a love for the sport, but you're not rooting for your teams in the way that you've always rooted for your team. So having UConn, I'm like, okay, wait, this is really fun. And I love also bringing up the Kemba step back jumper that took Pitt out of it here. I'm always like, that'll be my one trash talk to the people of Pittsburgh, but that's what I get to deliver on.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, oh my gosh, but those teams. So yeah, and they both got a shot this year too, both the men and the women. So hey, they might add another championship. Those Crowder Trophy cases. Jenna, this has been so much fun. This has been Jenna Harner from NBC 11 here on Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. Jenna, where can people find you on social media and on NBC 11 and all that other good stuff?
Oh, it's been so wonderful joining both of you. Thank you both so much for having me on. This was a blast. You can find me on Twitter or X, whatever we're calling it these days, at Jenna Harner 11. You can find me on Instagram, Jenna_Harner, and locally in the Pittsburgh television market or online on our app and on our website too, WPXI Channel 11. We have a lot of really cool stuff coming. Nothing too crazy. I'm trying to think of if there's any big thing I can plug. Nothing crazy, but just a lot of big coverage ahead of this game this week, and then down the stretch here as we really get into the crazy and best part of the NFL season, in my opinion.
Gonna be interesting, this AFC North.
All right, Jenna, thank you.
Breathing down your necks. Baltimore breathing down their necks. Yeah, that's gonna be interesting too. Y'all start facing each other coming up in these next few weeks.
Yes, I'm excited to Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jenna. Go ahead, Jenna.
I was just saying, I'm excited that my colleague will be the one going to Baltimore, and then not me, which I'm very excited about. As much as I love Baltimore, not being outside in the cold and going to Detroit for an indoor game, I'm very much looking forward to that.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt.
Lucky
Stay
you.
warm.
It's just real quick. Yeah. Look at you, Jenna, just before we spring here. Me and LaKeena, we're 80s babies, so we saw every basket of Michael Jordan. So, of course, we ran the 90s. So, real spoiled Chicago sports fans in that fact, and we don't apologize for it. So, we understand when you talk about the men's and women's college basketball team of UConn for back in the day. So, we understand from the Bulls
No
teams
problem.
in the 90s. So, we tell people that we're from Chicago. Michael Jordan brings a smile to our face. So we understand.
We get it.
I
We
love
get
it.
We are good. Again, Jen, this was so much fun. This was so much fun, Jenna. Thank you so much. And we'll definitely have you back on. And well, hopefully we get a good one with the Steelers and Bears this weekend.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you, Jenna.
All right. Much
Yeah,
success.
Thank you so much, you guys too. Happy
Thanksgiving. All right. All right. That was Jenna.
Thanks.
All right.
See ya.
See ya. All right, that was Jenna Harner from NBC 11 in Pittsburgh. Sid, let's take a quick 2-2 timeout here, and of course, hour number,
most definitely.
hour number one in the books coming up. Hour number one in the books. Now, come hour number two. We've got the NBA as LeBron makes his return, and Steph, again, does very Steph things. Also, to college football. Speaking of, we'll talk about that Pittsburgh Georgia Tech matchup and other matches coming up this weekend if we tell. And also, of course, our other Gokers team from KXRB as we do our NFL Week 12 picks, and also TV news. Speaking of Pittsburgh, and of course, the baseball TV, TV contracts, all that's been official. Well, we'll cover the confusion that some people have. I know some people were confused coming up. So, LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, NBA and college football coming up right after this.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
How do you take care of your mind health?
For my mental health, I meditate in the mornings.
I have my dogs. They're the best.
I just find ways that help me just relax.
Finding things that make me happy, like being close to my family.
I meditate a lot and read books.
I have hobbies outside of the game. I'm able to switch off. I'm able to turn my brain off from the game of basketball.
Your mind health matters.
Your mind health matters.
It's a romance sport. What? It's a romance sport like that.
Your Marine Corps' way of life is to defend the American way of life. Every day, no matter where we serve, we take a stand for our nation, for each other, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Every body in a work zone is someone's somebody.
This is my mom. She works for KDOT.
This is my dad.
This is my mom.
This is my daddy.
This is my sister.
This is my daddy.
This is my son, Scott. He was killed while working in a highway work zone. When you drive through a work zone, drive like a life depends on it. Because it does.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid the Kid right here, LaKeena McGee over there. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow McGee on the Twitter, executors again at IG.
As we kick off hour number 2, previewing college football and discussing a little bit of the NBA for this segment. If you have any questions or comments regarding those subjects, you can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up of the screen for you.
Real quick though, we'll do a little NBA since we already did the Bulls. We'll talk about the rest of the NBA. Quickly recapping some of these games. De'Aaron Fox had 26 points from last night as San Antonio beat Atlanta. Philadelphia needed overtime, but thanks to Tyrese Maxey's career high 54 as they beat Milwaukee. I'm talking about Philadelphia. Memphis beat Sacramento. Sante Aldama had 29 points. Again, they're still without John Moran. I'm talking about the Grizzlies. And Orlando with Jalen Suggs 23. They beat the Clippers.
Quickly, the Spurs will be without Victor Wembanyama for several weeks. I know he did not play on that Tuesday game, which was flexed to NBC against Memphis. We talked about San Antonio having a shot of perhaps making the playoffs. Right now, it's going to take a slight turn because of Victor's injury. And with the 76ers and Bucks from last night, VJ Edgecombe, who had a big opening night performance against Boston, he's been very good as a rookie in that two-guard spot. You know me, I don't try not to do hot takes on the show, but he's your eventual replacement for Paul George. I know Paul George has returned and he hasn't been playing. I know Joel Embiid has not been playing in back-to-backs, but if they could get either of those guys back, I'm talking about Philadelphia, they could be a playoff team. But Tyrese Maxey, he has to stay healthy for Philadelphia to be competitive. But I like some of the young talent that the Sixers have right now. If Embiid and Paul George can just stay healthy through the majority of the year, Philadelphia can be that surprise team this year. But health has always been a question, especially with Embiid and George.
Yeah, it's good. I think they're really going to need both those guys if they want to perhaps maybe be up there for maybe one of those top 6 seeds in the East. So the long-term look, I mean, I know that they lost the night before on Wednesday against Toronto. We'll talk about Toronto in a little bit here, but they're definitely going to need the long term if they want to be right there. They're kind of right down in the 5th part right now. We're only like a third. We're not even third through the season yet, but it's going to be interesting though to see if Philadelphia can keep this up because they're definitely going to need both those guys back, both MB and PG long term. So right now they've been okay, but yeah, they're going to need both of those guys. They want to be like right up there in the top 3 or 4 part of the East.
Yeah, and speaking of Sacramento, I know they have one of the worst records in basketball. I know there have been reports that they're open to train everybody right now. I know officially can't do that until, I believe, this middle of December. But the way they play right now, you could trade everybody for all I care. I know Domantas Sabonis is injured right now. Zach and DeMar, well, we've seen that at 10 Chicago, in particular Zach LaVine. And Russell Westbrook, he's just hanging on. He's a future Hall of Fame, but he's just hanging on to a job at this point. So, Sacramento, you thought they were on the come a couple years ago when they lost to Golden State in the first round of the playoffs, and then it's been held downhill ever since.
Yeah, it's been that's kind of disappointing for Sacramento. I know you thought they won that big run a couple of years ago. You thought they could sustain it, but it's been injuries. It's just been bad luck. It's just not unfortunate. It's just unfortunate for Sacramento because they definitely deserve to have consistent contending NBA team, but unfortunately that has been the case. I mean, they got their butts kicked by SGA and the OKC on Wednesday. So it's been that kind of, they did it shorter, had 21 points to lose an effort there. But yeah, I would be surprised they start if by after the first year they start trading guys. So we'll see what happens there. Now the Knicks, look, they beat they edged out Dallas 113-111. Jalen Brunson had 28 points for the Knicks, and it's interesting because they're the first team in NBA history to miss. They actually missed 31 threes and shot like 40, just under 50% for the free throw line. Yet they still won in regulation. So, welcome to the NBA, folks.
Yeah, I was watching some of that game yesterday, and we all know that Dallas is about to go through a retool rebuild. I know Cooper Flag didn't play, but as we talked about, he's getting his feet wet in the NBA. Klay Thompson, he's still going to go down as one of the best shooters in his era, but you can tell the age and injuries are starting to catch up to him. They're missing Anthony Davis. I know the report said that the Dallas Mavericks management is not going to trade him, but they may want to rethink that at some point. We'll see. But on the flip side for the New York Knicks, I know Jalen Brunson missed the last couple of games. When he's in that lineup, the Knicks team is a much better team. And we talked about with that guy Ryan Field over a week or two ago that with the new head coach Mike Brown instituting the motion offense, Jalen Brunson does not have to have the ball in his hands every time, and you can tell that he's playing much better this year.
And Mikal Bridges hasn't complained yet, so that's
there you go.
A bad thing. That's already ahead right there. So we'll see if the Knicks can keep it up. Minnesota beats Washington. Julius Randle had 32 points. There, Denver 125-118. So they got a nice bounce back win after losing to the Bulls. Upset there. I'm sure Jokic was not very happy. The rest of that group. It was actually Peyton Watson that led the way for the Nuggets. 32 points, a career high for him. On there, Norman Powell had 25 for Miami as they beat Golden State. I know some people are kind of a little bit surprised. I know the Bulls, they played them tonight. Talk about the Heat. So unfortunately, I know Steph didn't play. I know he's been struggling with that ankle injury. So I'm wondering, but again, Miami's been playing very well. I know our best wishes Eric Spoelstra. I know his house burned down and under mysterious circumstances. Yeah. I'll leave that alone. I have my theories, but Google's your friend, folks. I'm gonna leave that alone. But yeah, I think the Heat's been looking pretty good so far. I know Powell's been looking very solid. Of course, Bam's been doing his thing as well. Andrew Wiggins has been a good contributor there. So it could be a tough go at it for the Bulls tonight.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, Bam Adebayo, he returned from injury off the injury list earlier this week. And let's not forget about Jaime Vasquez. I was high on him a couple of years ago coming out of UCLA, so he's starting to contribute as well. On the flip side for Golden State, you mentioned Steph not playing. Jimmy Butler in his return to South Beach, he didn't play either. Draymond Green also had the day off too. But for the Warriors, it's about health. The Miami Heat, they're playing almost like the Phoenix Suns did almost 20 years ago under Mike D'Antoni. Get a shot up with the first 6 or 7 seconds, and that's worked to their advantage thus far today. As you mentioned, with them they're already here in Chicago to play the Bulls tonight in the fourth week of the NBA Cup. The Bulls defensively they're going to have that challenge against Miami. Miami, when they're knocking their shots down, they're very hard to beat. So we'll see what happens at the UC tonight.
Going to be very interesting. It should be a fun one out there. I take the over tonight too. If you're kind of betting, I take the over. So continue with Wednesday's games. 114-104. Paris Saint-Germain had 28 as the Rockets beat the Cavs. Going into Tuesday's games, Phoenix beat Portland. The Lakers beat the Jazz. Luka had 37. It's also the return of the King, LeBron James. He had 11 points. He played 30 minutes. But he also had 12 assists, so that was that was helpful there a little bit. So you can tell it's going to take LeBron a couple of games to get back into his groove.
Yeah, and the Jazz, they cannot stop anybody, as we saw last Sunday against the Bulls in double overtime. But they can score with the best of them. I know Ace Bailey didn't have his best game, their rookie star, but Lauri Markkanen put up another big 40-piece performance. They had a couple other guys that had big performances that their names escape me for the moment, but I watched the majority of that game the other night. LeBron James, this is where he wants to be. I'm not saying he's going to average 11 points for this year or perhaps next year if he comes back, but him being in a secondary role, it's a complementary piece to Luka Doncic. You don't need LeBron James to do everything. I know he'll be, I believe, 42 years old next month, but as a 40-plus-year-old guy who's starting his 23rd season, yeah, he can't carry a team like he did 5, 6, 7 years ago. So that's not his role. His role is a complementary role, and with the roster that the Lakers have, if they stay healthy, they could be where they were last year. The question is, can Rob Pelinka, their GM, make a move if he has to at the trade deadline, and can it beat teams like Minnesota or Denver come playoff time? We still have a long way to go for that, but if LeBron accepts his role being that secondary guy, I think this is going to work out for the Lakers.
Yeah, I think he knows that. He knows that he's going to be 42. He's not going to be able to play like he used to. He's not going to play every night or every game. So I think he knows that he is going to – there's a lot of wear and tear because he's been playing since he was 18. So he knows there's a lot of wear and tear on that body of his. So I'm sure he knows that there are going to be some games where he can't be the LeBron that we're so used to seeing. So we'll see what happens. San Antonio beat Memphis, continue with Tuesday's games. Also, Detroit, they've won 11 in a row. They're the hottest team in the NBA. Kate Cunningham had 25. They beat Atlanta Boston beat Brooklyn, and Orlando beat Golden State behind Desmond Bane's 23.
All right, and let's set the stage up for tonight's Week 4 games in the NBA Cup. We mentioned about the Bulls and the Heat. That's at 7 o'clock tonight at the United Center locally on CHSN. The first game of the NBA Cup for Prime Video, the Pacers will take on the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's like 6 o'clock. Brooklyn will play Boston. Washington will visit Toronto, another surprise team in the league this year. Excuse me. New Orleans, who fired Willie Green last weekend, they'll play Dallas. Minnesota will visit Phoenix. In the second game of the Amazon Prime Friday night doubleheader tonight, we'll have Denver at Houston. Houston had a big win on Wednesday at Cleveland. The Nuggets-Rockets game is at 8:30 p.m. The rest of the schedule for tonight, OKC, Oklahoma City Thunder at Utah. In Portland, will visit Golden State. Let's see if Steph or any of those big guys will return to the lineup tonight.
Going into tomorrow's games, you got the Clippers and the Hornets. The first game of the NBA TV doubleheader. Note the time, though, at 4 o'clock, you got Orlando hosting New York. That should be a fun one. Atlanta and New Orleans. Second one back-to-back for the Bulls as they host the Wizards at 7 o'clock. That I would say take the over on that one because we know there's going to be a high-scoring game between those two. Usually is. Detroit and Milwaukee. That should be a fun one. The NBA TV, the second half of the NBA TV, Saturday afternoon into evening doubleheader. Memphis and Dallas and Sacramento, particularly the old Kings, they face Denver to finish out the Saturday slates.
Yeah, Sunday. Miami will visit Philadelphia at high noon. Charlotte will visit Atlanta. Orlando will visit Boston. The Clippers will visit Cleveland. The Nets and Raptors will do battle in north of the border in Toronto. Portland will visit Oklahoma City. San Antonio will visit Phoenix, and the Lakers will visit the Jazz. And that's your schedule for Sunday and for this weekend in the National Basketball Association.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown with you as we now switch gears. So, going back to the gridiron and on the college side anyway. Week 13. These are the last couple of weeks of the regular season. Some games of note. Northern Illinois loses to Western Michigan 35-19. Central Michigan, they're still going at it. They could perhaps maybe catch a close spot in the MAC championship game as they beat Kent State. Yesterday, Louisiana beats Arkansas State 34-30. That was an entertaining game there. Florida State, these are tonight's games. Florida State and NC State on ESPN at 7 o'clock. Just happy I'll be able to actually watch it now since our YouTube TV's back on. Got the channels back. And this could be for a spot in the Mountain West Championship at 9:30 in where the Raiders play in Allegiant Stadium in Vegas at UNLV. They host Hawaii, so that should be a fun one at 9:30 on FS1.
All right, let's get into the schedule for tomorrow. Ohio State will host Rutgers in the big news Saturday on Fox at 11 o'clock. Ohio State's favored by 32.5 points. I don't think they have anything to worry about. So Ohio State is going to take care of business at the Horseshoe. At the same time on ABC, I want to get your thoughts on this one. Number 8, Oklahoma, after beating Alabama, as I told you last week on this show, on the road last week, they'll host number 22, Missouri. Missouri has been scuffling over the last couple of weeks. Oklahoma 8-2 overall. Missouri 7-3. 4-2 for the Sooners in SEC play. Missouri 3-3. I think this is the last stand for the Missouri Tigers. What say you? Oklahoma's favored by 6.5.
Yeah, they will. I'm talking about Mizzou. They will get Bo Perbula back at quarterback, so that should help them a little bit. I'm talking about the Tigers. So again, that defense of Oklahoma has been pretty good. They were able to, Tyler Warren. They were able to kind of, made the big plays when they had to against that Bama offense. So we'll see what happens. It should be a fun one down there in Norman.
All right. At the same time on ESPN, number 13, Miami will visit Virginia Tech. Surprisingly, there's no spread here, but Miami should still be able to take care of business. Virginia Tech looks like they're going to get Penn State head coach, James Franklin. The job starting next year. Big Ten Network, 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. Minnesota, PJ Fleck will visit Chicago to take on the Northwestern Wildcats at Wrigley Field. Northwestern's favored by 3.5. Let me say this first of all. I think the Wildcats learned their lesson from last week against Michigan. Minnesota, a very good team, but Minnesota got exposed as we thought. It was going to happen last Friday, 1 week ago tonight at Oregon. Northwestern, they'll perform a little bit better on offense. I think Preston Stone's going to have a big day. I'm taking Northwestern. I'm taking the points.
Should be interesting to see what happens with Minnesota there. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how Northwestern responds after losing that tough one right there at Wrigley to Michigan. So we'll see what happens. Louisville and SMU. Now, SMU actually also has an outside shot of the ACC title. They play at 11 a.m. on ESPN2. That should be a fun one. A couple of SEC teams going out of conference. Alabama, I'm sure they're going to take it out on poor Eastern Illinois after losing to Oklahoma. I'm sure I feel bad for yeah, there's no spread there, but yeah, I take the over, I guess, if you are going to do that. Charlotte and Georgia, that might be an interesting one. I know Charlotte's been pretty good the last few years, so don't look past Charlotte, Georgia, but I'm sure Kirby's probably sure his guys don't do that. Going to the afternoon, the big one here at 2:30 on CBS. You got USC and Oregon. This should definitely for a lot. It could be a spot for the perhaps maybe the Big Ten championship, perhaps, or maybe even a playoff spot too, perhaps.
Yeah, Jaden Mavia is going to have to step up. Their star quarterback, I'm talking about for USC this year. 18 touchdown passes rather in 6 interceptions. I think he's going to have to play almost damn near perfect football. He's going to have to be helped up by King Miller, with their star running back, 5 rushing touchdowns on the year. He's going to keep that Oregon defense on his heels. And let's see what Mekhi Lemon is made of. 8 touchdown receptions on the year. He's going to have to step up and have a big game too. Oregon's favored by 10.5. I'm taking Oregon in this one, but I think USC is definitely going to keep this close, especially with that offense.
Game day is going to be out there in Oregon, and also Marcus Mariota will be the guest picker. Washington, the Commanders are off this week, so it makes sense. So that should be a fun one. I'm sure those folks going to be rocking up there in Eugene. We haven't forgotten about you, Christine. Notre Dame and Syracuse on NBC at Peacock at 2:30. They should have no trouble with Syracuse. Syracuse has been took a step back this year, so they should be okay. Arkansas and Texas at ABC at 2. Oh, was that the taps music you're playing for Syracuse?
No, sorry. Right on time.
Well, don't let our buddy Dave Kerner. I hope he's not watching. Hi, Dave. We love you. I hope we got to get you back on the show soon. Michigan and Iowa on FS1 at 2:30. Duke and North Carolina. No, this is not basketball. This is football. 2:30 on ACC Network. Tulane and Temple. Tulane's in the driver's seat of getting one of those at-large spots for the playoff. That's at ESPNU. Michigan and Maryland on BTN at 3 o'clock on BTN. They should have no trouble there. And TCU in Houston. Still a lot of movement in the Big 12. That's going to be on Fox at 3 o'clock. Let's see here. Tennessee and Florida, 6:30 on ABC as we go into the nightcap. And Illinois, maybe an upset alert at Camp Randall against Wisconsin at 6:30 on BTN. Maybe not.
Yeah, I think Illinois should be able to take care of business. I'm looking for a big day from Caden Fegan, the Illini star running back. 6 rushing touchdowns on the year off of 477 rushing yards. Luke Altmaier, who's been very impressive this year for the Fighting Illini, 21 touchdown passes to 5 interceptions. He's going to have to step up big. I'm looking for Illinois' defense to create a couple of turnovers. I think there's going to be a difference in this game.
All right, the old Bay Area brawl. You got Cal and Stanford at 6:30 on the ACC network. BYU and Cincy could be for a spot in the Big 12 title game. That's going to be at 7 o'clock on Fox. Arizona State and Colorado at 7 o'clock on ESPN2. Washington, UCLA. Well, it seemed like that matchup seemed pretty good at the time. That's the night game on NBC. Utah State and Fresno State, and also San Jose State and San Diego State on FS1. The Utah State and Fresno State games on CBS Sports Network as we go out west for the nightcap. So that is your schedule for this weekend in college football.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Chicago City. LaKeena hanging out here with you on this hashtag Football Friday edition. We wrap it up following these messages with our girl, Miss Christine, the Queen Manica, with our weekly NFL picks. We'll get into the baseball's new TV deal, and the Blackhawks are doing something very good. They should have done this a while ago, but they decided to do it now. That and a whole lot more. You stick and stay right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you live this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGee, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to Second City Sports, the hashtag Football Friday edition of Locked and Loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's LaKeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and again at IG.
This is our last break of the show for today and for the week. So, you have any last minute questions or comments of any of the topics that we have discussed thus far on today's show, you can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get that up on the screen for you.
All right, so let's get right to it and not waste any more time. She's our girl, your weekend girl from KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It's Miss Christine the Queen Manica. Hey, Christine.
Hi,
Yay!
guys. How are you?
Thank you for that victory last week.
You know what? I do what I can.
Oh, well, yeah, I know that was exciting. I know I saw your photos that you sent us, and it was actually pretty. Those were actually pretty exciting. And I'm sure the atmosphere there was electric out there in the Twin Cities.
Yeah, it was. What an adrenaline rush, really, throughout that entire day. And I saw a lot of Bears fans in the Twin Cities, so it kind of made me feel like I was in Chicago instead of Minneapolis. And yeah, the fans, they were incredibly nice. I never came across, any bad Vikings fans, so to speak. And the stadium itself it's pretty incredible. So it's very, very well constructed, and yeah, just an overall great experience.
Yeah, I know that looked really exciting.
I heard a few fans on both our Chicago sports stations earlier this week saying that the Minnesota Vikings fans were very hard on JJ McCarthy, especially in the middle of the game. Was that your experience? Talk to us about that.
Oh yeah, this is what I said. I'm used to hearing people booing, against coaches, organizations. But the poor kid, I mean, it was only his fifth game at that point. He's still a rookie for all intents and purposes. And they were ruthless against him. I felt so bad. And I look at my friends who we were with, and they're Vikings fans. I'm like, why would you guys be booing against your own quarterback? They weren't doing it, but there were other people around him doing it. It was just kind of surprising to hear that. So it was loud and it was heard. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't think those of us who were watching at home, I don't think we could have get it fully grasped. We heard the boos, for people who were watching the game, but I'm sure it was magnified, if you were out there. So yeah, that was pretty pretty brutal, I'm sure. But look, people need to remember this is actually his rookie season. I know it's his second year, but technically this is his rookie season. So give the guy a little bit of grace, please. All right. Real quick,
did you get a chance to chase Tom Brady?
I saw Tom Brady.
Chase Tom Brady.
No, I did not chase Tom Brady. No, I did not. I saw him. I saw him. So that's all I wanted. I just wanted to see him, and I did. So that was good.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Very good. Nice. Now, very nice. Now, real quick, the Texans, Bills. This is actually the 6th straight loss the Bills have had in Houston. So unfortunately, it's been kind of like a house of horrors. 8 sacks yesterday for that Texans defense. So real quick before we go to our picks, do you think the Texans can sneak in for one of the wild card spots? Sid, I'll start with you.
They have a chance because of their defense, but they still going to need C.J. Stroud in the long haul. Davis Mills, he's a backup for a reason. He's done a nice job, but the Texans are led by their defense. And Will Anderson Jr., he's a stud. You guys didn't see the highlights of the game from last night. You know why he's a stud. So Houston has a chance because of their defense, but if they're going to go anywhere this year, they're going to need C.J. Stroud to come back. He's supposed to come back in their next game, so we'll see what happens there. I believe they play Kansas City, so that's going to be a tough test for them. On the flip side for Buffalo, this is the first time for their franchise that they had 3 or more turnovers in 3 consecutive games. Not good.
Christine?
But yeah, it's kind of surprising. 8 sacks for poor Josh Allen. The line's gotta do their job better. And when it comes to the Texans, I guess it all depends on what the rest of the schedule looks like. And to be honest with you, CJ Stroud wasn't really doing anything incredible before he got out with the concussion. So I don't know how much of a difference he's going to make depending on the rest of the team and their motivation behind it. And again, it all comes down to the schedule too.
Yeah, they play the Colts and the Chiefs the next couple of games. So this is gonna be a test for that defense for the Texans. So it could be interesting to see what happens with them. Now, going into our picks, your Week 12 buys, Denver, the Chargers, the Dolphins, and the Commanders. So make your adjustments on your fantasy teams accordingly. And, of course, we'll start out in Baltimore. The Jets, 2-8 against the Ravens. Christine?
You know, this should be an easy pick. I'm going with the Ravens. I don't see the Jets doing anything spectacular anytime soon, especially being in Baltimore. It's a hard enough stadium to play in when you go out there. The Ravens should be able to get this win. I'm not saying it's going to be pretty, but they should be able to get it.
Maybe Christine's on to something. I don't know. But Baltimore's favored by 13.5 points. I know they beat the Browns by 7 last week on the road, despite Shedeur Sanders coming in relief for Cleveland. So I'm going with Baltimore here.
Yeah, I think the Jets will cover because that Baltimore win against Cleveland that kind of maybe shrivel a little bit. So I'm thinking the Jets will cover, but Baltimore will win it. Now, as far as the picks are concerned, where there's only a game. Christy, you and I are tied. Sid, you're a game back, so it's getting a little jam packed. Yeah, it's getting a little jammed here at the top. So these next few weeks are going to be very interesting.
Love it.
Yeah. Yes, let's go. Okay. Speaking of the AFC North, Bengals hosting the Patriots. I'll keep it short and sweet with me. I'll say Patriots. Go.
Patriots, same thing, short and sweet.
Make it 3-3 New England. They're favored by 6.5.
All right. So we'll see. Okay, the Lions host the Giants. They had that tough loss last week. So Sid, you start this one.
We told you that the Giants would play better under famous Jameis Winston, and they did technically cover the 7.5 points that Green Bay was favored. Green Bay only won by 7. But the Giants are going to be without Jackson Dart again. The Lions, they're pissed off by what that ugly performance outside at Philadelphia last Sunday night. Even though they were embarrassed, they didn't get blown out, but they were embarrassed enough that they'll come back. They're back at home indoors. They'll be focused. They're favored by 11.5. I'm going with the Lions.
I'm going to go with the Lions, too. I think that line is a little bit high, all things considered. I think Jameis Winston's going to put on a good show and do what he does. But the Lions, they need this win, and they're probably going to get it on Sunday.
Yeah, they're gonna. I think. Yeah, you never want to face an angry Pack Alliance. So I'll take the Lions. Don't know if they'll beat the Giants by 11. They could pull away late, but yeah, I think that the Lions they're not going to be very happy after what happened in Philadelphia last week. So I think they'll take it out on the Giants. Now, NFC North here, you got the Packers and the Vikings. Christine.
If it's one thing that the Vikings and Bears fans can agree on is that we all hate the Packers. And when they were showing different scores from the game last week at US Bank Stadium, when everyone saw that the Packers were losing, I mean, just erupted in cheers. It was almost like that was the Super Bowl happening, just seeing the Packers losing, which is kind of funny. But for this game, unfortunately, they're at Lambeau. I don't see the Packers losing this one. I think this is going to be competitive. It's going to be gritty football. But a home win for the Packers is what they probably need right now, especially against a division rival. So I'm going to go with the Packers.
I'm going with the Packers too. They're favored by 6 points at home. No, I wonder why the Vegas doesn't have the hook with the half point, but I digress. But the Vikings, their season is over in terms of being competitive for the playoffs. I know they had some success there over the last 5 years, but Green Bay, they barely got out of there alive against the Giants on the road last week. They should be more focused on going with them, unfortunately.
Yeah, Fox double.
And that game will be seen here in Chicago too.
Yeah, most of the nation will get this game as Fox double header. Got the double header this week, so yeah, I'm picking Green Bay as well. Minnesota. I mean, I'm not. Yeah, they're not looking very good. They took a step back as we all thought they would this year. So no surprise there. Now I'll be watching this game on this computer screen here on CBS. You got the Colts at 8-2 against the Chiefs. Yeah, 500. So Sid, you start this one for us, please.
I know your husband's happy right now, Christine. He's on cloud nine, and rightfully so. As I said last week on the show, even though I lost with that pick with Kansas City, I said if Denver wins this game, referring to last week, they'll be your AFC West Division champions. They will be, unless they have a historical less, which I do not foresee coming. What I do foresee coming is, if that's a word, that the Kansas City Chiefs, they'll play around 500 ball between now and the rest of the season. Their offense, when they get away from Arrowhead, is pedestrian. The Colts have a surprise start to the year, but the Colts had their struggles a little bit on the road, i.e., see the Pittsburgh game from 3 weeks ago. I know people want to put the Chiefs in the coffin, but you cannot. You eventually you'll be able to do it, but not this week. I got Kansas City at home. They're currently favored by 3.5.
I figured I'd be standing on an island for this one. I'm going to step out of the box and go with the Colts. They've had a week off. They have made the adjustments. They've done enough where they can face the Chiefs on their home turf. And quite frankly, the Chiefs probably could have played a little bit better last week, all things considered, because they had a bye week. I think the Colts are going to surprise a lot of people this weekend, and Daniel Jones is going to be part of the reason behind that. So I'm going to step out and go with the Colts.
No, I'm
Indiana Jones.
Right?
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Christine. I think, look, I know Jones been struggling with a calf injury. It was limited yesterday. We'll see what the update is today. But also Pacheco is out too. I just saw on there before we came on for the Chiefs. So that might be a bit of a problem here. So I think Indy, like you said, they've had a bye week to kind of refocus, energize. I think Shane Steichen will have his guys ready. So I'm picking the Colts. I think the Colts will do it here, but should be a fun one down there at Arrowhead. Seattle and the Titans. I don't know what the line is, but I'm picking the Seahawks. I know they're not going to be in a very good mood after losing a tough one in Los Angeles against the Rams last week. They're going to take it out on poor Cam Ward. That team is going to take out on poor Cam Ward and that Titans offense. So Seattle should win this one pretty handily. They're going to be playing a noon game.
Keeping it short and sweet, I'm sticking with the Seahawks.
Yeah, the Titans played well last week. Should have beaten Houston, but there's no more victories in this game. So I'm going with Seattle. They're currently favored by 13.5 points.
Interesting. All right.
I think that's too big of a number in my opinion, but that's just
that might be that I guess Vegas must know something. Now going to the 3:00 games, our base royalties will have to call this game for CBS as the Jaguars face the Cardinals. Sid, you start this one.
Jacksonville's favored by 3. Jacoby Brissett set set the new NFL record last week, 47-57, and your team still puts up 22 points. What will we see for an encore? I don't know, but I do see a Jaguars victory in that crystal ball there. So Trevor Lawrence and crew, they beat the crap out of Harbaugh and the San Diego Chargers of Los Angeles last week, as we called them on this show. So the Jaguars, I don't know what's going on now down there, but Liam Cohen in the Duval, they have it rolling right now. So I'm going with Jacksonville.
Yeah, you really don't know what you're going to get with the Cardinals this year, especially with Jacoby Brissett still at the helm and the soft benching going on with Kyler Murray. I'm going with Jacksonville. Maybe they can surprise a lot of people towards the end of the season and claim a spot.
And they might get us starting off here in Arizona. I know Marvin Harris Jr. is still out; he's recovering from the appendicitis. I think a couple of guys who are on IR as well for the Cardinals. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jacksonville perhaps maybe beat them pretty handily. But then again, you never know with the Jaguars team; they might lose. So I'm not picking the Jaguars, for this one. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Cardinals somehow pull off the upset. But we'll see. The other CBS game, 3:00 game, you got the Browns and the Raiders, both at 2-8. Jesus, the toilet bowl, as Christine, as you say.
Yes.
No, go ahead. No, you can start first.
I'll start. Just because they're at home, the Raiders, and Shador, he's still young, still trying to find his footing. I think, could this be the game that he shines in? Absolutely. But I think for the Raiders, it's their home turf. I don't see them really losing, but it's not going to be easy for them.
I'm going with the Raiders too. I want Shador to do well, but the Raiders, if they can't get this one, Pete Carroll might be bald-headed like me by the time Monday rolls around. So Vegas is favored by 4. I'm going with Las Vegas.
Yeah, somebody's got to win this game, right? Vegas.
Watch your end of the tie.
Oh my gosh.
Which just might happen. So yeah, it might just happen. So we'll see.
Manifest.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, boy. Early 80s NFC football, if you guys know what I'm talking about. So this could be that kind of game. So we'll see. Now, the game of the week on Fox, the 325. Most of the nation will get this one. Speaking of Tom Brady and Kevin Burkhardt and Aaron Andrews and Tom Rinaldi, you got the Eagles and the Cowboys. The Cowboys, this is going to be their first game after Marshawn Nealon's passing. The Eagles, they're at 8-2. They still got a lot to play for, not just for the division and such. I know there's going to be a lot of emotion there. I know the Cowboys, going to play off that. Will they have enough left in emotional wise? They might, but I think Philadelphia, they want to hurry up and clinch that number 1 seed in the East that way they can kind of rest a little bit. So I'm picking Philadelphia. I think that Philadelphia is just too good. I think A.J. Brown will have a nice showing. I think Saquon Barkley will show off. It'll be a close one like it was in their first meeting, but I think Philadelphia will hang on to win it.
Technically, it's the second game after his passing. So maybe the emotions are a little bit more calmer after a lot of nice tributes came out from all sides of the Cowboys. I'm going to go with the Eagles for this one. I'm not going to be surprised if the Cowboys pull this one off, especially for a home game. For now, though, I'm going to go with the Eagles.
I'll be the guy that steps up. I'll go on with the Cowboys here. Javonte Williams, 8 rushing touchdowns on the year. Philadelphia's defense is good, but Dak Prescott, how they're going to defend that, how the Eagles defense is going to defend that, I don't know. And Saquon Barkley, he did sort of get back on track last week, but I know Dallas's defense has been terrible, but yes, I know statistically they've been playing well, despite the cream puffs on their schedule the last couple weeks. But it's a division game. It's going to be a physical battle. I'm going with the Cowboys in a close one at home. And the current line is Philadelphia by 3.5.
So they got them kind of like Vegas knows something there. So we'll see. Should be a fun one down there in Jerry's World AT&T Stadium. Now, the other game, that Fox game, only those of you in Georgia and Louisiana, and probably some parts of the Southeast will get this one. The Falcons and the Saints. Sid?
New Orleans is favored by 2.5. Kirk Cousins is starting for the Falcons for the remainder of this season due to Michael Penix's partially torn ACL. This is going to get ugly. I said the Falcons season was done. And I'm going to stick to that. I'm going with the Saints.
Keeping it short and sweet for me, guys. I'm going to go with the Falcons for this one.
Same. I say Atlanta. I think because we're going to see a little bit of the old Kirk Cousins. So again, this might be another one of these ugly 6-3 type games. So cook it ugly down there in the Bayou. The Sunday Nighter should be a fun one. You got the Bucks and the Rams. I would say if the Bucks were a little bit healthier, I would pick them, but I think the Rams are just too good on offense. Matt Stafford is still breaking passing records. Puka Nacua has been running, all over the place. That defense is really solid, so I'm picking the Rams for this one, this Sunday Nighter.
I think I'm going to go with the Rams for this one, too. I love Baker. I love what he's doing. But Stafford, he's on a different level this season. So I think this could be a game in the future if both teams were to go on in the postseason. Great matchup. I do think the Rams are going to pull this one out. By the way, shout out to Baker on baby number 2 coming up.
Yay. Yay. Hope it's a boy this time for him.
It is a boy. It is a
it's a boy. Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so perfect. Nice.
Matthew Stafford, 27 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. He's definitely in your top 2 candidate for MVP. And even though the Rams and the Eagles have the same record, I know Philadelphia owns the tiebreaker because of them blocking a field goal early in the year. I still say the Rams are the best team in the NFC until further notice. Whose house? Rams' house. Give me Los Angeles. They're favored by 7.
Nice for the Reverend Run DMC reference there. Monday Nighter, an intriguing one here. I know ESPN and ABC. I know ESPN's happy that this is actually going to be an intriguing match. We got the 49ers and the Panthers up for the playoff position. Christine.
I am going with the 49ers for this one. I know that it's not the same Panthers team as the past. Bryce Young has been doing better this season. The 49ers are just a stronger roster, so I'm going to go with them.
I think this is going to be a closer game than what people expect. The Panthers are they're having a surprising year. They're 3-3 away from home. They got back on track last week. The 49ers, the same thing at Arizona. Christian McCaffrey is focused, and he's playing well. The 49ers defense is doing it with a match unit right now. So I think this is going to be closer to what people think. I think the 49ers will win by 3 to 4 points. San Francisco is currently favored by 7.
Yeah, I would stay away from this game if you were betting. I think this will be a lot closer. This won't be a blowout. I think Carolina is eons, better than they were last year. Rico Dowd's been really solid for them as well. But I think San Francisco is they've kind of found the groove a little bit. Purdy's back, that defense. Even though, I know, Bosa's gone, Warner's gone, but their young guys have been kind of stepping up a lot for. They're getting better too. Thanks to Robert Saleh back at DC. So San Francisco will pull away late. It'll be close for a little bit, but I think San Francisco does pull away late. So that should be a fun one out there in the Bay Area. Now to the beloved, the Bears and the Steelers. It's going to be on CBS. You got Eagle, J.J. Watt, never Washington will have the call out there at Soldier Field. And a couple of stats here, guys. The Bears are 12-1 versus the Steelers at home all time. The last time they won. The last time that the Steelers won, you got to go way back to 1995.
Wow. That was Dave Wannstedt's third year head coaching. And remember, the Bears were ahead of the Green Bay Packers in that division that year in 95. Eric Kramer had his best year as a Bears quarterback. And with that loss, the Bears had a terrible November. They kind of rebounded in December, but that loss spared the Bears season downwards. They missed the playoffs at 9-7. I remember that game. For those of you that are interested, I know some of you are. You can check out that game in its entirety on YouTube.
Yeah, because Neil O'Donnell was the QB that year for the Steelers, and Cordell Stewart, of course, would be the future.
And that's the team that went to the Super Bowl and lost.
Yep. And of course, you have future Bears quarterback, Cordell Stewart. Well, he was doing everything but the quarterback. He had a big day both receiving and rushing, so that kind of led the way. I think it was his rushing. I think it was he had a big run that kind of opened up for them to win, and they over talk about the Steelers. So that was the last time they won out. The Steelers won out there at Soldier. Now I got the injury report right here. For the Bears, Tremaine Edmonds is out. So is TJ Edwards. So is Rashawn Johnson, as well as Noah Sewell. And on the flip side, though, for the Steelers, I know our buddy Jenna Harner had, didn't have an update. Well, Aaron Rodgers is officially questionable. So take that as you will. So, Christine, you can start for us.
He's playing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, for all we know that that he's just messing with everybody. And when it comes to the Bears, I liked what I saw last week. I will say there were a couple of times where Caleb had some really nice passes to DJ Moore, and he just didn't run for the ball. So I want a little bit more effort out of DJ Moore. I would hope that happens this week, especially knowing the rivalry, not between the Steelers and the Bears, more likely between the Bears and Aaron Rodgers. So that is pretty much the only thing I would want to see improve. I thought the defense worked their butt off last week up until the fourth quarter. They did everything that they could to keep them in the game, and they did. They kept them in the game. With the Steelers, you got TJ Watt on the other end of it. That's the player to look out for when it comes to defending for Caleb on the O-line. And I think that this is a down period for the Steelers. I know Tomlin has always had a winning record with the Steelers ever since he's hopped on as coach. This is just a little bit different this year and probably territory that he hasn't really experienced in a while. They are at home. I'm going with the Bears for this. They just look really good. They look better. And Aaron, I expect him to play. He's just messing with everybody right now.
The Bears were lucky to escape with a victory last week only because of the special teams, which I am worried about right now. Shout out to Cairo Santos, but at the same time, I still believe that the Bears will have a different kicker by next season. But with that being said, let's transition over to today. The Bears need to run the ball much better than they did last week against the Vikings. Ben Johnson's play calling was horrible in that second half, in my opinion. That should have been a 26-10, 26-6 victory. Instead, you got a last-second field goal. But with that being said, I think the Bears will run on that Pittsburgh Steelers defensive line because it's very good. Caleb Williams has to continue to progress and be smart with the football because those Steelers linebackers are looking to pick up a couple of his passes. If they do, it's going to be a long day for him. And it's going to be tough for our tight ends and Colson Loveland and Cole Kmet because the Steelers linebackers are good. So I think it's going to come down to the running game. And on the flip side for the Bears defense, please put Aaron Rodgers out of our misery and put him on his back about 2-3 times. They'll be very much appreciated and get a couple of turnovers here and there. So with that being said, I'm taking the Bears in another close one. I don't know if it's going to come down to a last-second field goal. It better not, or else the Bears are in trouble. But I'm taking the Bears here. They're currently favored by 2.5 points at home.
You said it, not me, about taking down Aaron Rodgers.
Well, I won't say it either. But
in the spirit of competition.
Yeah, look, he's playing. He's like, I think it's like what, 24-5 or so, 25-4 or something like that against the Bears. All time in his career. Edmonds and Edwards being out, that's going to be a big point of contention because Jalen, I know he got hurt with the ankle injury. I know he's been limited the last couple of weeks, but last couple of days, I should say. But I think whoever ends up being, I think they will run through that Bears defense, that rush defense. So I'm thinking it won't be because of Aaron Rodgers that the Steelers will win. I think the Steelers will win this game in a close one. Just simply because I just think that I don't trust this Bears squad. You can't do what they did in the last.
No faith in LaKeena. Last
couple weeks I actually picked the Bears last couple weeks, but I picked the Bears last couple weeks, Christine. So easy
with the
there.
Question mark attached to it. Question mark.
Yeah, I know, and yes, and this is one of those games where it could go either way. So it's gonna really depend on who can execute their game plan better. I just think there's going to be a running back kind of thing. And I think whoever, if Warren, is out for them, I think, look, they've got run backs and such. So Jalen Ramsey, maybe Joey Porter Jr., his dad was on the team the last time they beat the Bears at home. So I think he might have a big day on Sunday. I say, it's going to be a close one, but I'm picking Pittsburgh. I can't pick the Bears for this one. I got a gut feeling that this is going to be where the Bears come, get back to reality.
What is that category on the Barstool's ranking this week? If you're mad that the Bears are 7-3, go hit a wall, something like that. That's what this is right now.
Hey, I'll be happy to hit a wall. That's fine. Hey, I'll hit a wall. I actually hit a couple of walls this
Boy,
week, so yeah. So hey,
she's part of that category. If you're mad that they're 7-3,
I'm
then
not mad. I look. I got a question mark with a 7-3 record. I'm just saying.
little thing.
No.
You're listening to.
Hey, that's your schedule for the NFL Week 12.
You're listening to Second City Sports Zone Chicago. Sid, LaKeena, Christine here with you. We have just a couple of minutes left before we call it quits for the weekend. Baseball has quickly to baseball the new TV deal with Netflix, NBC/Peacock, and ESPN televising 30 regular season games, excluding Sunday Night Baseball. Christine, thoughts? Only 3 years. What's going on here? What's your thoughts?
3 years, if you look at it perspective wise, that's a long time. That's a long time to negotiate new deals and come up with more strategic planning. I think Netflix is just hopping on the bandwagon with what the NFL is doing with games on Netflix. Personally, since I know a lot of people do have Netflix subscriptions, I think it's going to do well. I think it's a smart idea. And with everything that goes on with baseball when it comes to programming and where people can get their games, I think this is a pretty sustainable solution right now. And it's going to give fans more opportunities to get games from across the country.
I'm wondering, is it because of the labor, the labor kind of like question mark? I wonder if that's why they did the shorter time frame here, because you don't know what's going to happen after next season. Will there even be a season, in 27? So I think that might be why all three might have said, okay, we'll just do 3 years. And then if you can sell it your labor situation, then we'll do like the 6, 7, 8 year, length. But
did you just
right
6,
now,
7, LaKeena?
Oh yeah, I know. I thought about. I know when I said that, like, oh
gosh.
crap. I don't even know what it means. Like I said, I got a lot of younger gradies and everything. They don't even know what it means either. They just started doing it because their friends did it.
You just
So
6, 7 us.
I know. That wasn't my intention, but that wasn't my intention. I promise. But yeah, I wonder if that's why they only did 3 years, is because of the question marks, the labor strife.
Yeah, we talked about it over the summer, you guys, that the NBC could own Sunday nights for the entire year. They officially are going to do that starting with next year with the baseball. They have the NFL for Sunday Night Football. They're going to have Sunday Night Basketball once the Super Bowl is over this year. And, of course, they're going to own the summer with Sunday Night Baseball on NBC, because ESPN, even though they're going to have 30 games starting next year, we're outside of the College World Series in June. What are they going to do for this Sunday night program? And they have to scramble around for something, because NBC is going to own that time slot for the next 3 years for Sunday Night Baseball.
More ESPN Ocho stuff, I guess. Maybe we'll get more of that. Maybe. More of that, I guess. All right, more news here. Stuart Scott, ESPN 30 for 30. They're going to be doing a portrait of Stuart Scott, which will air on December 10th at 8 Central Time, our time, because we're all three of us are in the Central Time Zone, but also 9 Eastern too, for all you guys out east. It'll chronicle the life of Mr. Scott, and also how he brought the hip hop culture to the Sports Center and ESPN, and such, how he inspired a generation of sports anchors, reporters, hosts, and podcast hosts, and such, to kind of just be themselves. Well, and we have Larry Beal on. We'll see if we can get him back on when the Bears play the 49ers in a few weeks, but I remember he said that he was encouraged. Stuart Scott was discouraged from doing that. He just started doing it, and then that kind of just how it all kind of took off. So, what are your guys' thoughts? Are you guys going to watch this new 30 for 30 doc?
Yeah, I think it's very topical. I think it's about time that they did something on him. He did transcend the world of sports, and he knew how to captivate his audience, and he did it well.
Yeah, LaKeena, us being the child of the children of the 80s, raised in the 90s, of course, in my house. And, of course, when I got to college, Stuart Scott was must-see TV whenever he did Sports Center, because he did black culture, hip-hop phrases, pop culture phrases. And let's not forget, the E for ESPN stands for entertainment. This is not NBC or CBS or ABC News. This is sports. So he knew how to, like Christine said, captivate an audience. He was different, and ESPN was looking for something like that at the time. I hope, like you said, LaKeena, I hope they tell the other side a bit, because let's be honest, some folks, not just in that building, but across the broadcast world, didn't like his style either. It was something different at the time. When you first want to step out to do something great, not everybody's going to be on your train, but eventually most people got over it. The viewers loved him, and of course, he got the extra love when he got sick around 2014. So, I'm definitely going to watch this special. Like you said, he inspired people like us that are children of the 80s and 90s, and his legacy obviously will never be forgotten. So, I'm definitely cannot wait for this one. And I think it's, like you said, less than 3 weeks. So, I hope ESPN dotted their I's and crossed their T's for this one. Tell everything, the good and the bad. And let's not forget, he was born and raised here in Chicago as well. I hope they tell that part too.
Yeah, I think I think one or both his daughters had a lot to do with this, so I'm sure it's going to be done right. If they are going to be, played a big part in this. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see if they really do the dive. I know they're going to talk about his cancer battle as well. So they might go everything. So Booyah, A Portrait of Stuart Scott will premiere on December 10th at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on ESPN and the ESPN Unlimited app and all that other good stuff. I'm sure they'll repeat it too. It's just technical listens if you miss it.
All right. Last topic before we call it quits. The Chicago Bulls will introduce a few new members until their Hall of Fame tomorrow before tomorrow night's game against the Washington Wizards. Play-by-play man Neil Funk, former coach and player Bill Cartwright from the first three-peat championship team, John Paxson, Horace Grant, Artis Gilmore, and the late great Norm Van Leer. Christine, thoughts on the new class going to for the Chicago Bulls Hall of Fame for 2025-26 season?
Yeah, that's a good class. Bill Paxton, he a legend, of course, and it's only going to get bigger the more that they do the Ring of Honor. It just started last year. It's kind of hard to have a strong start and then a second year have those same expectations. But Bill Paxton going in there, well deserved.
Yeah, I think Horace Grant. I know. I'm glad he's finally getting his due, because it feels like he hasn't gotten his due with those first three championships. So I'm glad he's finally getting this flower. So good for him. And of course, Neil Funk. We all love Neil Funk.
Yeah.
I'm sure Stacey Key will probably share some stories about him from way back when they were doing it for about like 4 or 5 years. They did it. So that should be a fun one. And it should be an emotional one. And I think hopefully they win. Hopefully they win when they do their Ring of Honor. So it should be fun.
Don't be doubting the Bulls now. They're actually having a good season.
No. I'm just saying, I think they lost the first one. They actually lost. So this is just me tying it in here. They lost. So yeah. So hopefully this year they actually win, because they did lose the inaugural one last year. So hopefully this will be a much better result for them this year.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to how they honor Norm Van Leer as well, because LaKeena, we talked about, we're the children of the 80s. We didn't see him play live, but we grew up watching him as a broadcaster. We talked about with Stuart Scott just a minute ago. Norm did both radio stations, AM 1000, before it became ESPN. Of course, he had a morning show on 670. Not 6. It was 1160 at the time with the late great Doug Buffon in the late 90s. And of course, he did his thing at Sports Channel and Fox Sports Chicago. Of course, the original CSN when they switched over in the early 2000s. So Norm had that passion for the game. You need intensity. 48 minutes of intensity. Some of his catchphrases. And for those you young folks watching right now, people talk about Charles Barkley being outrageous and outspoken, rightfully so. We had our version here in Chicago. His name was the great Norm Van Leer.
Yeah, he always, you could tell stories for days. And it's unfortunate that he's no longer with us, but I'm sure he's smiling now that he's getting in some love now. Real quick, Christmas Day games, for the NFL. Of course, Netflix, they have announced their crew for Thursday, December 25th. Ian Eagle and Nate Burleson and Matt Ryan and Sarah Walsh and Melody Collins will have the call of Dallas and Washington. That's going to be at noon. Our time, Central Time. And on the flip side, for the Lions and Vikings, you got Noah Eagle, Drew Brees, AJ Ross, and Diana Rossini will have the call of that game as well. And also, various folks will be doing the pre and post. They're gonna have two different groups of hosts. So Netflix, doing it again with the sports, with the NFL. They had a good experiment last year. We'll see if hopefully both these games will be better than the ones last year. Well, we'll say that.
I agree.
Hopefully they can solve that connection. Hope they can solve their connection issues, unlike last year. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, there was that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot that. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure that they've done that. Illinois with a tough loss against Alabama, little college hoops, real quick. So we talked about this before. I think the quickness of some teams. I think Alabama's quick because I think they got to Illinois, and also free throws too. I guess Philo Jr. actually Alabama actually hit their free throws late. Illinois didn't, so that could be an issue for Illinois down the line. But again, look, they're ballot tested, so I think they'll be okay. I'm talking about Illinois, so they'll be all right.
Yeah. Like I said, shout out to the United Center. Yeah, shout out to the United Center for hosting the Final Illini. It should be a tradition every year for the Illini to play at least one game at the United Center. I know the fans for both teams were represented very well, as we talked about. The Final Illini, they should be up there this year. They're ranked I think number 8. I'm sure they'll drop a little bit, but they should be out there in the Big Ten all year. They couldn't close out Alabama, as you mentioned. Too many offensive rebounds and missing key free throws, and a couple of key players getting in foul trouble. That's not going to cut it. But I think Brad Underwood, if he can coach those kids right, and they can have a couple of big years out of their big guys in their transfers, I think we could potentially see something special.
Couple of games here. We got Wisconsin and BYU at where the Jazz play, the Delta Center. That's gonna be at 3:00. Coming up in about 45 minutes on Peacock. So make sure you guys check that out. I know Duke had a nice win over Kansas. So Cam Boozer is looking really good. So definitely definitely
Carlos Boozer's son.
Yeah, his brother Colton, his twin brother Colton as well is pretty good too. And we'll see if Illinois can bounce back as Long Island LIU, which is Long Island University of Brooklyn. So they should be able to bounce back with that game tomorrow. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, so an interesting weekend coming up in men's and women's college hoops.
Definitely.
Yep. One last question before we head out. I know we got to close out. Christine, no worries about your Notre Dame Fighting Irish tomorrow as they host the struggling Syracuse Orangemen.
No, come on. I knew against Pitt that they would be fine. Come on.
Yeah, I know. Last year, Syracuse. No. I'm actually with Christine on this. I think they should be fine. Syracuse has kind of took a step back this year. Now, if this was a Syracuse team from last year, then I could probably see them getting some trouble. But they'll be okay against that Syracuse squad this year. They should be fine. They should get to the playoff, no problem.
Knock on wood, LaKeena.
Right? Yeah. Well, look, I like Jeremiah Love, so I love his story. So he's a great player.
I love him. He's great.
Yeah. So So that's all we got. Though, I like I might be a fan of the program, but I love the individual players and the coach. I like Marcus Freeman too. So yeah, I can hate the program itself and still like the individuals on the team. So it's fine. I like Jeremiah Love, and so it's good.
On that note,
under
please.
her breath.
Yeah, of course.
On that note, please take us home.
You can follow McGee McGee on the Twitter, execute again the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sidney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Christine, where can the lovely people follow you on social media?
They can follow me at CManica_KXRB on Twitter, X, whatever you call it.
Oh dear. Oh, sorry. All right, you catch Second City Sports every Monday and Friday. I got something was back there on my back of my chair. I don't know what that was, but you catch Second City Sports every Monday and Friday for noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Again, catch you catch the replays anytime, anywhere on Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook YouTube channels.
And we will provide.
We want to thank our new friend, Jenna Harner from NBC 11 in Pittsburgh. And, of course, our girl, Christine Manic from KXRB out in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And, again, if you miss, our picks, our interviews, what have you, can catch replays of our show, Sean and I almost called it Sean Sierra Sports. I always call myself there. And the Smoke Fellas and so much more. You can catch it anytime, anywhere on Sports Chicago's YouTube channels.
And we will provide again.
All right, so enjoy all the great sports and stuff. I know it's a busy time of year with football, basketball, soccer, volleyball, women's volleyball, and so much more. Of course, for Sid and Christine, I'm LaKeena with Second City Sports on Sports from Chicago, and we'll see you guys on Monday.
Go Bears! Holla!